Alrighty. Welcome. It is I, Cruz136. We're doing a patch review. Sorry, I was just thinking about this first part. I haven't read this patch. I just caught a brief glance at a couple small things. I haven't really tried to get ahead of this. I was just playing Star Wars, so I'm transitioning in. I was just trying to understand how I read it, but I realized it's Radiant Dire. So, it used to be... I'm going to ignore the numbers up here because it's irrelevant. Pick, ban, yeah, first pick. Okay, so pick, ban. And now we're talking about pick, lots of bans at the beginning. So instead of 4 split between 2 teams, it's now 6 split between 2 teams. Then it's 2 more of the picks rather than 4. Then it's less bans. It used to be more bans here. So it's pushing those bans up, allowing, I think, pro players to have more control over it. Then you have that heavy pick phase, and then the same amount of bans. Okay, so I think this seems to be, and I'm not really someone who usually plays Captain's Mode, but it seems to let you get your bans in earlier. It's gonna stop a lot of, annoying heroes, I guess. How many bans is it total, by the way? Before it was a total of 4, 5, 6, we'll just say per team. No, it matters, actually. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. It was 14 bans before total. Now it's 2, 4, 6, 7. Wait, 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, because it's 4 of the Dire. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. What did I say the first time? 10? Or was it 14 before? 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Okay, so it's the same amount of bands. They're just pushed forward a little bit. Specifically, this band, yeah, they basically swapped these 2 bands. That's more or less what happened. They switched a little bit on the picks as well. I don't care what terribly, that's the thing. Alternative cast abilities. UI stuff. Okay, just some nice stuff. Do I even play any of these heroes? No, not really. New stat. Slow resistance. Ooh. Reduce the impact of slows in your hero by a percentage. Status resistance no longer affects the impact of slows. About half of existing slows in the game had both duration and impact reduced by status resistance, but now it affects only the duration of slows, not the slow itself. Okay. Scan has 2 charges. Ooh, that's nice. Killing Roshan no longer grants control of any watchers in the map. Good. Main jungle watchers for both Radiant Dire have been moved. I'll have to see that. Adjust the position of the triangle watchers. Good. Both outposts from the main jungle to the triangles. It's not triangle anymore, it's a biangle, but whatever. It's just to its line. Mighty Mines buff in Mines area increased. I don't even know what that buff is. Added UI to support self-restoring item charges. Hand Midas Holy Locket. Okay. Biggest change here, in my opinion, is this change with slow resistance. It just basically means that now slows are going to be more impactful. They still will last less with status resistance, but they'll still have their full duration. You can still have BKB be immune, so it's not like whatever. It's interesting. Scan having 2 charges, super great. I love that. It incentivizes you to use your scan too, because I'm assuming it builds the 2 maximum as well. So that means you're more likely to actually use it and not just sit on it. I love that Killing Roshan doesn't give you watchers. It was too strong. The rest of it we'll have to see. Blood Grenade. Cost decreased by 15. That's notable. Max inventory stacks is 2 now, so if you want to buy a bunch, you have to take more stuff. Initial stock decreased from 3 to 2, so it's less likely you can buy them, and they come way less often. Blood Grenades are really strong, to my understanding. A 15% slow by itself is already really good, and now they're cheaper. So they're easier for supports to buy, which was the point. And now that they changed some of it to be harder to get, I think that's fine. Refresher Shard. Now provides 20 damage, 6 mana, 12 health regen. Didn't say instead. I don't know what it used to give. I have no idea. Nothing, right? A refresher shard just gave you nothing. Because it's a shard from Rashawn, right? Like, it gets used. So now it just has a passive thing, too. So in case you didn't want to use it, it actually does give a benefit to somebody. I mean, that's cool. It just means that if you don't use it right off the bat, it's nice. It'll eventually go away, though. Smoke. Disguise duration increased by 10. I think that's super strong. When the caster is still disguised, any allies that come within 300 range of them will also get the buff. Each smoke can only be applied once to allies. It cannot be reapplied if smoke is broken. Okay, good, because I was about to say that'd be crazy, because you just have one person hang back when you go to gank, and then everybody would walk back into you, and you just walk away, and then do it again, because you just have a free smoke for the rest of that duration. I think the duration on smoke is really cool. This is a really good, and this is just a helpfulness when someone isn't there for your gank. Now they can TP in and walk in with you, and they'll be smoked too. So this is a nice fix for when people aren't in place when they should be, or if you just like don't get hit by it for some stupid reason. This is all really nice to smoke. Consuming Nature's Prophet sprout trees no longer grant healing. That's stupid, but whatever. Arcane Blink is one of the things I did see. 200 health and 100 mana when used. So when you actually use your Blink, you heal and get mana. It's because Arcane Blink isn't bought terribly much to my understanding, because the price, it's an int item, it's like, eh. So they're trying to be like, look, you can heal and get mana. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but I also don't think it's going to make you, like, get it. Does that make sense? It's like, eh. It's nice. Armlet of Mordigian armlets, as they say. It's active when it's taking your health down. Now grants 35% slow resistance, making Armlet a much better item. It was already good, mind you. Already good item. But now the fact that it also gives slow resistance, so you're less slowed when you activate it, that's a big buff to Armlet. That's a huge buff considering how common slows are. Let's just think for a moment. AA, Venomancer, Silencer, Viper, Razor, and these are just the top of my head. Beastmaster, I believe he slows you with the axes, right? Maybe I'm wrong about Beastmaster. I don't know I don't play him often, so whatever. Regardless if that's true or not. There's so many heroes that I could start listing that give slow as Pudge. Now this is like kind of a counter to that. Damage bonus increased on Battle Fury again. This is like the third patch in a row they've buffed Battle Fury. Quell bonus damage against creeps decreased by... This is the melee damage. So it's 15... Yeah, if you're melee, it reduces. It used to do 15 extra if you're range 6. Now it does 10 extra and 5 if you're ranged. So the range gets basically the same bonus against creeps, but it was low anyway. And this Quell doesn't get the same for melees. But let's be honest, this 5 damage buff negates that 5 damage buff. And actually is a buff in that regard, because you're saying, oh, well, I'm going to lose 5 damage versus creeps. Well, there's your 5 damage versus creeps, and this one affects heroes, because this 5 damage is flat. So that's a buff, technically speaking. Crystallis is 50 gold cheaper on the recipe. Nice. Crystal's a nice item, so I'm glad. That also affects Daedalus. So cool. Awesome. Same thing with Silver Edge. Wait, no, recipe... I'm sorry. Recipe cost increased by 50. Total cost unchanged, because a Crystallis is inside Silver Edge. They didn't want Silver Edge to be cheaper, so even though they made Crystallis a little cheaper, they made sure this recipe increased to maintain. Soul Stealer maximum damage bonus increased from 20 to 30. That makes Desolator so much fucking better. Because it's extra damage. That's the point. It's that stacking damage. And I get really mad when I hit 20 and I'm like, oh, it happens so fast. So that's just a really good buff to Deso. It's a much better item now because it can give you more damage than it did before. Because now it's 30 damage on top of the 50 damage. So now Desolator at the end game is 80 damage and a 6 armor shred. That's so much better than the 70 damage in an armor shred. I know it doesn't sound like a big deal, but since you have high attack speed, every 10 damage does matter. I'm not going to say it's going to be like, oh my god, best item in the game, but like, it's a big deal. The active Undisputed Blade no longer roots creeps. I did not know that it did. So I guess that's my bad. Suppress now affects all units. Ooh! Oh! Oh, that's so good! Oh! I love that. I like to play anti-mage, and I love the idea of getting... I always eventually upgrade to the Disperser when I get the chance. Now it means I can chase down a whole team. Oh, that's disgusting. That's so gross. No. That's disgusting. Plus the fact that this is better, too. In fact, this is looking like that. Everything's coming up anti-mage right now. I wonder if they nerfed him. Hand of Midas. Transmute now has 2 charges. It starts with 1. That means that effectively it's the same GPM, but with more reliability. The reason that matters is that you don't have to go off your farming path to Midas in a way that's inconvenient to you, or if you die, it's not necessarily inconvenient to you. This makes Midas a much better item, because I always tell people, well, what if you're dead when the Midas is ready? That's not really as much of a factor anymore, and I hate to say that, but that is a big difference. When you look at the 22 or whatever minutes it takes a Midas to pay off, now, you know, it's different now. You know what I mean? Like, it just changes things. And by the way, I was also curious. Let me bring a calculator up real quick. Okay, I clicked calculator, and that's not what happened. I'm just going to open my phone. I just went to do the math real quick. Every 100 seconds, it gets 160 gold. So what we do is we take the price of Hand of Midas, we divide by 160 gold to see how many uses it is. It would take 13.75 uses at 1 every 100 seconds. That's 1375 seconds. And that would be 23 minutes almost. So now instead of 23 minutes roughly, which might actually turn more into 25 for it to pay for itself, now it's really probably going to be 23 because you'll never really fall behind. It also allows you to use it when the jungle items come up. Like you could save it and then use 2 really quickly and get jungle items. So that's another thing to think about. I think this is good. I still don't want to see all of my supports buying Midas all the time, but it's a good item. Harpoon now is a mana cost. I mean, good. It should. Disarm no longer pierces debuff immunity if applied beforehand. Okay, that's really good. What was happening is if you halberd Sven before he BKBs and then he BKBs, he's actually still disarmed. That's been there for a long time. This is a long time halberd feature. They just removed it, and I love that because it felt so punishing. Halberd was a really good item for 35.50, so this is a good nerf on Halberd. Dominate on the Helm of the Overlord now increases neutral creep abilities levels by 1, which is really gross because that means this item is even better than it was before. So now people like Beastmaster are going to buy it even more often because now the creeps they're going to steal from the jungle will have better abilities. I don't like that. I wish Helm of the Overlord wasn't even in the game, personally. I would love to see this item just removed. If I was to vote any item that I want removed from the game, this might be it. Just because I just don't ever like to see it. I'm like, man, I want to buy a Helm of the Overlord. I'm like, ah. Like, it's just such a higher skill bracket item that I just don't like to see. Holy Locket. Refreshing the item now fully restores charges. Okay, so the active, you dump healing and mana into somebody, what essentially your wand would be, because it's Holy Locket is upgraded wand. You just be like, oh, here you go. Like, here's a huge heal bomb and mana bomb. Now, if you were to refresh it from having a refresher orb or some other such refreshing ability, it now gets all of its charges back, which is minor, but it's nice. Transfer spell block from multiple sources. Now refresh the buff instead of applying multiple instances and blocking multiple spells. Okay. Huge nerf to the, let's everybody buy Lincolns and I'll put it on the Sven. That way Sven can't get CC'd. You know what I mean? Like, it's not usually a Sven who gets this, but, like, you know what I mean. Some people were putting a bunch of Lincolns on the same fucking hero so that the enemy team couldn't CC them. That was the point. If they have a lot of targeted CC, hexes, whatever, you could just be like, oh, look, Lincolns, a Lincolns, a Lincolns, a Lincolns. Now it only refreshes the cooldown, so now they actually have to time it. Which means if the enemy team really quickly just hit 2 CCs, you'd never have a chance to react and put the second Lincolns on them. Because if you put it too early, it doesn't actually become 2 Lincolns, it's just 1 overlapping. That's a really good nerf to Lincoln Sphere. Maelstrom and Mjolnir's Chain Lightning does more damage to illusions. I think that's a great change. I think that's an amazing change because that's actually going to affect PL as well. And Naga Everybody who's an illusion-based hero, Terrorblade, now is going to be more countered by this, and this is actually really going to hurt that PL meta, and I fucking love that. I love to see this. Recipe cost on Monkey King Bar went down, which has happened a couple times, by 75, and its total price went down by 120, 25. 75, I'm sorry. Why did I go down by 7? Oh, yeah, okay, I didn't do the math right. 75, 75. Good. Perfect. Cheaper item. Nullifier no longer purges debuff immune targets. Good. It doesn't pierce BKB. We love that. Since BKB was nerfed anyway a long time ago with all the whatever, I would like to see things stop just piercing it. Overwhelming Blink. Damage and impact decreased, I'm sorry. Oh, good. Nerf to strength heroes. A lot of people get this item because it did a lot. It was 100 plus 150% of your strength. If you're taking 100 strength, which was not crazy, that means that you're taking 250 nuke, which is actually could be way worse than that. Now it's still the flat 100, but it's only 50% of your strength. It's a third of the damage from strength, so it's way less. Overwhelming Blink now deals 100% of strength as damage over the duration of the debuff. Okay, so it still does the same damage, it's just not instant. It means that in theory you can be resistant to it. So like you could, I'm trying to think like a way to word this. You could decide to, my chair's all messed up, it broke recently. You could find some way to avoid the damage as it's ticking. That is bad for people who have a Blink Dagger, but still. Radiance now deals extra damage to illusions. Same with Maelstrom. I love this. The active Irreverence no longer grants attack speed. It applies a negative 20% magic resistance debuff to enemies on attack that lasts 3 seconds. So they take more magic. They take more magic damage. It no longer deals damage to debuff immune targets. No longer deals no damage to debuff immune targets, but reduction by magic resistance still applies. Okay, so before if you had Residence Burst and you activated it, just like Muerta, if someone BKB'd, you did no damage, which was like a big problem. It's still subject because it's a magical attack when you activate it. Now instead, it still hits, but it's still subject to magic resistance, and I think that's important. It is a buff, though. The nerf on attack speed is a big one, but this is a buff, so it's kind of just a better item. Atos. Different recipe. It makes it 500 cheaper. And no longer have strength and agility. The int went down, but it provides health. That's probably still a nerf, though, because now people who want, like, the certain characters would have wanted an Atos to, like a Clinks or something doesn't get agility at all from it now, and that's really sad for him. Some heroes will still be fine with this, so now it's a more niche item for certain people, for the Gleipnir specifically. Yeah, the bigger thing is it does provide flat health, so I don't remember how much it was before with health. I think it was similar. I think it's a little more health you get than what you had in strength before. So it's actually going to make you tankier, and it's cheaper, much cheaper. But that's the thing. Even though it's cheaper, yes. It gives int, but yes. I think that's the problem. It was too good. Rod into Gleipnir was too good because it gave stats to everybody. Now it's like, no, it can give you some health, and there's a little int in it for you, and it's much cheaper, but no, it's not going to be like a carry item. Gleipnir is much cheaper too, related obviously, but yet again, doesn't have any of that other stuff. I think that's great. I want to see that. Everybody was going Gleipnir. Gleipnir. Gleipnir is not supposed to be on everybody. Gleipnir is supposed to be on some people. I still think it's good on supports in some cores, but I'm glad to see that it's like, oh, not everybody's going to buy it. It's not like it was Viper, it was Clinks, it was Wind Ranger, it was Marana, it was, you know what I mean? There's so many that you could list of a lot of range heroes actually who bought it, so I'm glad to see it's getting like that sort of nerf. Extra damage on illusions is the name of the patch today. Basher has more damage again, which they've done before. Same thing on Abyssal, so that's cool. Again, they reduced Soul Ring's cost. This is not the first time they did this. They buffed the mana gain, which they nerfed the mana gain before, so they've decided to undo the change, basically, more or less. Soul Ring is looking a lot like it was before. That's cool. This is actually a much better item. Being cheaper and giving more mana does make this a more tempting item. Better for Tinker, too. Spirit Vessel now requires different stuff. Total cost unchanged. No longer provides health. All attributes bonus increased by 10. Woo! That's interesting. That's a good item. I love that. Recipe's really expensive, though. But that's really good for some heroes. Like, I was buying this on quite a few heroes before. I'm just glad to see that now, instead of health, it gives stats, which is what you want. This is really nice. Magic weakness now additionally deals 200 damage to all barriers. Ooh! So any barrier you have that reduces damage, Veil just goes like, kata! Which is really cool, because it's a goodish item, but it's not bought as much as it should be. Now that it does damage to barriers, it's kind of a counter to pipe. So you buy a pipe, and it's just like, shh. Or you buy Crimson Guard. Well, I guess Crimson doesn't have a barrier, so I guess that doesn't apply. But whatever. No. The active Crimson Guard, no, I don't think it does. Whatever, any barrier that you can get from anything, Veil is now a good counter to that. It's cheap, too. So that's nice for some supports. Neutral items I don't care as much about, so hopefully I don't have many comments on this. Arcane Ring, much better with the mana, whatever. Small changes to make certain things more tempting. A nice nerf to Faded is needed. It did way too much on the movement speed. More slow on Lance is nice, I guess. Maybe it's a usable item. I never use it. Yeah, nerf to Occult. I get it all the time for the magic resistance as a 3, so that's needed. Nerf to Pigpole is probably too good. I don't really care. Nerfing a lot of magic resistance, it looks like. Don't really care. I don't really care about any of this. It says it's looking way better with the slow resistance, by the way. That's awesome. Oh, Havoc pulls enemies in instead of out. That makes it a good item. I hated Havoc. I never wanted people to be away from me when I was a 3. I want them to be near me, like an Axe or a Mars, and now it's the opposite. That's a way better item. I love that. Martyrdom only redirects magic now, but more of it. If it doesn't redirect physical, this doesn't seem as important. It's okay. Yep, nerfs to Ninja. I knew that was coming. A lot of stat nerfs. Yep, a lot of survivability nerfs. Ooh, Book of Shadows. You can now target your allies if they book. That's really strong. Nerf to the stats on Book of the Dead. Yep. Ooh, Fallen Sky looking good, though. Strength bonus increased by 10. That's really big. Okay. Heroes. Abaddon. Cooldown rescaled, so it starts shit, but it gets a little better by the end. Same thing with his damage heal. Starts shit, but gets better by level 3. I would say this is overall a buff, and the reason why is I'd rather it start shit and get much better at the end, because now you're going to be able to cast it 0.5 seconds sooner with 40 more damage heal. That's going to be a really big deal in the late game. Max stacks decreased on corrosive weaponry. Good. Movement slow. Status reduction per stack is now increased. Whenever Alchemist is in Chemical Rage. When he's ulting, basically. So, I guess when he's ulting, his corrosive weaponry is much better, but otherwise worse. Duration decreased in Ice Vortex because it's annoying and lasts forever. Vision radius decreased. Sorry, increased. Oh, okay, you can see better with it. That's annoying. It's fine, though. Aghanim Shard reworked. It was Aghanim Shard without looking. Reduce the magic damage done to people that were near you. So, like, if you were near an enemy and they cast a spell, depending on how close you were to them, they did less damage. Now creates an illusion of anti-mage next to an enemy caster upon reflecting their spell. Illusion deals 75% damage, takes 100% damage, and has a duration of 4 seconds. Counterspell ally. Creates a counterspell shell around the targeted. A target ally within 600 range. The shell similarly creates an illusion of anti-mage upon reflecting an enemy spell. So you get 2 separate abilities. Your own counterspell just turns into a better ability when you get shard. And I think that's fine. It's 4 seconds, but like that's good. It's going to do a lot of damage. 75% damage is still a lot, depending on his items, right? This one looks really good, though, because it still reflects an enemy spell, right? And they'll never see it coming. So anti-mage in team fights is looking really rough. Like, my god. Like, imagine you're like, oh, it's anti-mage. Like, he's just got a counterspell. Now I have a counterspell I can put on somebody else, too. I wonder if you can be the targeted ally. Probably not, right? Can you imagine counterspelling yourself twice? I gotta try that out after this. You know what? I'm trying to write down. I gotta know. No, it's Quap. Okay.
There's no magi that I can't track and kill. Moving into position.
Prepare yourselves. We're nearly ready. Oh, yes.
Let's make some gold.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Okay. Shard. 2 abilities. You cannot target self with the second one.
Let's go.
So cooldown is 3 seconds, just like mine. They're the same, it looks like.
It's time.
So no, honestly, that's a level 30 anti-mage, mind you. Let's be clear about that. So let's level them to max, so at least they have some health.
Let's get to work.
I mean, that's pretty strong. Oh, he doesn't have the cooldown yet. That's
You have
why.
a plan, right? I won't let you down.
I wonder... I'm pretty sure Earthspike, if I remember correctly, can hit both of us in theory. So hold on.
You think a couple of handshakes? We're under attack.
Forward.
Can we both reflect it?
Easy. I won't be broken by magic.
Well, mine's shorter, so that's the problem, I guess.
I'm with you.
So I should do his, then mine, then cast it.
Oh, hell yes.
Okay. Just thinking.
I don't bow to magic.
I'm not sure if you can do both at the same time with like a double spell. I'd have to get the timing perfect. But the point is, this is like, this side itself is pretty good, right? I like the magic resistance, but this is actually better just because, you know, in general, I'd rather have an anti-mage illusion going in there and doing my job, right? Because it's also getting rid of mana. So my illusions have my disperser effect too. You know what I mean? So when I'm talking about like manaing somebody out, typically what I do is I blink on, well, I blink typically. I blink on somebody and I start hitting them, and you can see their mana just gets chunked
On it.
because of the, I even have actually some of this stuff. Hold on. There's the extra mana. The 0.6% was what I was looking for.
More death, double kill.
Typically when I hit somebody, this is what happens to their mana. And I know this is lying, but like that's, you know, that fast. And obviously killing. The bigger thing here to consider is that now if somebody tries to hit me, I already have a like an extra illusion doing my job for me. Okay. That's a pretty big deal.
There's no magi that I can't track and kill.
I don't know why this is like this. There we go. Okay, what about the talents? 1 second blink cooldown was kicked down to 20 instead. They moved the mana void radius up. The talent for mana void damage multiplier was increased, so you can increase it more to have bigger ults. And the blink talent was nerfed slightly. I mean, that's fine. I think this is good for anti-mage. Okay, I'm going to try not to make this terribly long. Under an hour for sure. Arc Warden. Tempest version no longer provides magical attack bonus. It provides base bonus attack damage. Ah, that's gross. I know like nothing about the difference between them, but I hate that. Tempest Double is now a point target ability with 700 cast range that spawns Tempest Double in the pointed area. That means you don't have to summon it on top of you. That's like a really big buff to Arc Warden, because now he can move it somewhere and not reveal himself. I just hate Arc Warden. I'm not going to worry about it. Axe got an agility nerf, which means he attacks slower, has less armor, slightly, mind you. Damage on counter helix went up a lot, actually, early. That's really nice, 15 early. I know it balances out to the same, but still. Brain Sap, which is just a damage heal on him, now fully pierces debuff immunity. Nice for Bane to live, you know what I mean? Sleeping units now aren't awakened by any damage dealt by Bane. Bane now gains attack speed against sleeping units. That's pretty fucking disgusting. Right-click Bane's coming in, where you just get to nightmare somebody for 6.5 seconds and just go like, crit, 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 crit. You know what I mean? Like, it's super high attack speed. That's what's going to happen because of that. Because now Nightmare is basically a stun. You know what I mean? Now that he can attack himself, it's basically a stun. Now removes Nightmare effect from the targeted enemy, so they can't be Nightmared and Fiend's Gripped. I'm not sure where that matters, but... I mean, that's cool. I don't really care about that. Alright. Hawk. You can no longer use Hawk to scout. Big nerf. So now it just circles him and dives into people. Okay, that's interesting. So Beastmaster is more like running into you, kind of, rather than the scouting. That's still bad. That's a nerf. Max health heal on creeps was decreased at earlier levels for Bloodseeker, making it easier to push out a lane, minorly. And they nerfed the duration of Rupture, which is really big too. Fuck you, Bloodseeker. Aghanim Shard upgrade on Bounty Hunter was moved to a separate ability. It's where you Shadow Walk on somebody else, if I remember correctly. So just to, yeah, there we go. Friendly Shadow. Okay. I mean, I guess that's nice for Bounty Hunter for UI stuff reasons. You know what I mean? It's just going to help with, like, the ease of life. However, Master's tankier. Fuck that. Fire Stance grants attack speed. Less crit, though. Oh, that's terrible. I hate Brewmaster. They removed Aghanim Scepter, Nasal Goo in all directions. Aghanim Shard now also increases stack limit by 3. That's Hairball, by the way. Which is really big for slowing and stuff. Bristleback is now upgradable by Aghanim. So allows Bristleback to be point targeted. Bristleback turns his back towards the target direction and after 0.5 seconds forcefully ejects 6 sequential quill sprays in a tight conical pattern out of his back at 0.35 second intervals. Bristleback is slowed down by 40% for the duration. Disarmed and cannot turn, but can still cast his spells in any direction. So basically, he can still move, but can't turn. That's interesting. I don't know if that'll be good or not. It's probably really good because the 6 sudden quills will do so much fucking damage. I gotta try that too. Hairball applies 2 stacks of Viscal and 1 quill spray. That's good. Used to be the opposite, I believe. It can hit through Rock of War. Alright, let's try it.
Now is the time.
I'm not gonna be able to, I don't think Bristleback's on my thingy. Oh, ha! Good point, Inferry, good point. And that looks really strong, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, that's crazy.
Also miss.
Quickly, purchase items consume material goods to sustain capitalism.
You don't say.
So let's see how much regular stack does. Pretty minor, right? So normally, it's enough because Lion doesn't have a lot on him. Let's just get him some hearts real quick. Just so I can test this for, like, what the difference is. It's a lot. Now we start throwing this in there. Even without using his new thing, right? I do also want to use Bristleback real quick. So I casted it sillily. Okay. You can move wherever you like during it. And if you... Unfortunately, if like... Okay, so if you cast over here and you move, you could actually miss your target if you go past them, because obviously over here, you'd still be aiming down. So you basically choose an orientation. So like if I choose down, I'm going to shoot down regardless of who's there. I'm not aiming... I'm not going to like... You might imagine that you'd rotate around the target facing in. It's not like that. It's still a point target, but it's more of like a vector target. I know it's not considered vector targeting because you're not aiming at one then another, but like you're more aiming at an area, and then that's what happens. So, if I went on somebody real quick, I would go... And that gets crazy really fast. Because like literally you just bomb them. You just... Like, because you can still cast during it, you know what I mean? That's going to be really annoying if Bristow builds, this is physical, right? If he builds stuff to armor shred you and stuff, because I'm not even hitting Lion, right? This is just, he doesn't even have any quill stacks, so this doesn't even matter, the warpath. But, like... Even if I never touch Lion, you know what I mean? And then I'm just like, oh, by the way. You know, it's doing thousands of damage. Because the stacks, obviously, have a max damage per quill spray is going to be 550 per hit, right? But then it's 550 physical, and you're getting armor loss from this, which is going to give me 2 goo stacks right off the bat, right? So the armor loss is going to be 3 at this level. So it's literally 3 armor loss, another 1, and then as I'm hitting you, I can hit you with, what, you're 6 now, right? So he still lived, but, like, you're already 6 armor shredded. And if you were more armor shredded when I start, it's going to be crazy damage. Now, he doesn't have a lot of armor, so this line's a little bit misleading. Because it's not like he has 12 armor, you know what I mean? It's not like he's sitting there with this, which is going to give him a lot more armor. If that's the case, you're going to have to get a lot more going on. Because now, obviously, look, he's fine, right? That's the thing, it's just going to keep getting worse. I completely missed him, hold on, sorry. But it's still going to get up there, you know what I mean? Like, given time. And Bristleback's facing you during this, too, so he's getting a resistance of 48%. You know what I mean? So that's looking pretty solid. Okay. And the cool stack damage in the town even went up and everything, so that's cool. Base armor decreased in Broodmother. Fuck Broodmother. Base strength increased. Oh. Agility gain increased. Fuck. Life steal from creeps is lower. Nice. Impact damage on Boa is less early. That's nice. I hate Brood. Centaur. Radius decreased on Hoof Stomp, making it harder to hit everybody. Cast point improved, meaning it comes out much faster, though. That's crazy. How fast is that? I gotta know. Here we go. That looks like a great... And that's all I really need to test. How fast does Swift Stomp come out? There's still a full cast time, but I think it's faster. That's what it seems to be. Oops. Now winds up for 0.5 seconds before the stomp. Central Warner can now move during this time, but can't attack. Oh, I'll test that. Casting other abilities using items or issuing either hold person or cancel commands will cancel the cast. Well, did it used to? Hold on. I just need mana. I don't know. You used to be able to do this. It would be like, whoop. You could do that, but now it's actually easier to do that too. It's easier to like bait somebody. But now I guess while you're running, you can run in. That's super strong, especially because you have ults, right? So like, I want people to understand what he can do now. He can run in and get somebody like that. Cooldown decreased in Double Edge. Strength damage increased in Double Edge. So it's going to do a ton of damage. Workhorse is his new Aghanims. Centaur Warrunner deploys and pulls a cart, which is what he did before, gaining the Stampede buff. While active, the Workhorse abilities are placed with the Hitch a Ride. They can be activated with previous effect. The Workhorse goes on cooldown once the cart disappears. I don't know how that's a change. I don't understand that one. I don't really know what it did anyway. Minimum stun increased on Chaos Knight. I hate that. I really do hate that. Now the minimum stun is all the way up to 2 seconds. Maximum damage was increased. That's also gross. Creep damage multiplier increased on the crit. So when he's hitting creeps, he does more damage when he does crit successfully. So 1.6 crit instead of 1.5, which I guess is nice since the life steals off of that, so it's easier to life steal off creeps. Cool, I guess. Penitence now grants Chen bonus attack range. That's gross. Aghanim Scepter cast range decreased from global to 1200. Can I cast enemies to damage them for the current values of Hand of God? That's interesting. I don't remember what Martyrdom does. It's the Aghanim Scepter. I'm not really familiar, but... that's interesting, though. Very, very high level. Aghanim Scepter now increases the number of hits to kill burning skeleton archers by 1. That's nice, because it kind of is too much. It did die easy. Cooldown increased on Skeleton Walk. Early, good. Spawn interval decreased, so burning army comes out faster. Distance between spawn skeletons decreased. So now it doesn't take as much space, so it's like a much closer but more efficient way of using it. The cast range decreased as well to match, that sort of thing. Boris Rocket Flare. Overclocking, which is his Ags, now increases Jetpack's movement speed by 20%, making him go much faster. Aghanim Scepter now also allows Crystal Maiden to move, attack, and cast spells during Freezing Field in addition to the previous effect. So before, Shard gave you the ability to walk during Freezing Field. They changed that. Now Aghanims let you walk, cast spells, move, items. Doesn't say items, but probably items. I'm not sure if that's true or not. Scepter time to Frostbite was increased from 1.75 to 2.5, so that way it's not as easy to just like get in there and hit somebody with your Frostbite and have them immediately be Frostbited after, stuff like that. This is actually really good, though. Oh, you mean 4 seconds, right? Or whatever it is that what you mean? Because you're right. It's never the high damage one. It's always low damage, high stun every time. New shard. Crystal Maiden slides back 275, creating a crystal clone of herself in her place. Whenever the clone times out after 5 seconds or is destroyed, the current level of frostbite is applied on all enemies within, like, right next to it. Clone is untargetable, but can be damaged with AoE effects. Clone health is 150. So it's kind of like a hoodwink thing, where, like, if you hit it, it shoots out a bushwhack. That thing. Which, did they get rid of that? No, they didn't, right? I don't remember. Whatever, that was the thing, though. That's what they're going for. It can't be targeted, so I don't know if this matters. It's interesting, though. Vacuum's radius decreased, making it harder to set up at earlier levels. Mana cost increased on Surge, making it harder for him to afford it. Distance for max power increased for normal punch, because you have to move in the past 3 seconds. So you have to actually move more, making it harder to get the full damage normal punch. Dark Willow's Bedlam is now at range. Ally targeted ability. Can target self. Cast on an ally, ejects travels to the ally at 1800 speed and spins around them. So you could, in theory, have Bedlam be on your carry and you know, or like Dawnbreaker or something could follow her and help her do the job. Base armor increase, cast point better. Aghanim Shard no longer improves the cast point because it's already better. Stun now pierces stun debuff immunity on Solar Guardian. I mean, this is all nice buffs to Dawnbreaker. Get her back in the meta. She's still played, but like I'm glad they're like fixing her. Don't care. Don't care. I like that, the Aghanim Scepter buff. That's cool. I don't know enough about Dazzle to say much about that. They're just changing like costs and stuff. Base movement speed increased on Death Prophet. That's just what we needed. Spirit damage increased on Death Prophet by 3 on both on minimum and maximum. That's gross. That's gross. I hate this. I don't want to see Death Prophet just push down my towers again. If target is trapped inside the kinetic field, Thunderstrike now hits all other enemies inside the field. That's a really cool thing for Disruptor. That's going to be like a nice way for him just to get some free damage and help his team out, so that's really nice. Especially since it slows a little bit, right? Yep. It slows movement and attack speed, so that means that all of them will get that if they're inside. Scorched Earth is upgradable Ag Shard. Heals Doom and controlled units for 60% of the damage values. Okay. Aghanim Shard upgrade removed on Infernal. The stun duration was increased, though. Doom no longer applies Mute, which means you can use items. Now makes the target unable to be healed, though, so in exchange. Damage per second was increased at the end game. Cooldown on Doom was decreased. That's a very interesting situation, because since you can use items now, that means you can actually TP. Number 1. Alright? So that means you can TP away. That's a real thing you can do if he doesn't hit you with Infernal or something. It also means you can still Force Staff yourself, Pipe yourself, you know, Yules yourself. That's a really big nerf to Doom, and that's why they made the cooldown less. It's still a good ability, but, like, that's a big nerf. I love it. Cast range during Dragon form for Dragon Tail increased, so it's easier to stun. Bonus move speed increased, so he's faster when he's a dragon. Yeah, whatever. Now you can still get marksmanship when you're on Glacier. It's just like a little buff. You can freely walk off the Glacier over the barrier, meaning that she is not restricted to walk on the Glacier from behind. She can just walk up or wherever she wants. That's what it seems to be. Maybe it's just walking off, though. It doesn't say free pathing, so no, you can now walk off the Glacier. So you could just go over it and walk forward if you needed to. Cool. The talent no longer increases the total channel time, making it always faster. So her talent for the multi-shot just makes the waves be faster. So she just goes like, which is a super big buff. Rolling Boulder makes Earth Spirit untargetable and vulnerable while rolling. The hero is still vulnerable during the delay after cast. So when he like starts rolling up, like you can still stun him. But as soon as he actually goes, he's untargetable. Big buff for Earth Spirit. Interesting. Bonus attack range increased on Enchant Totem, making it even more annoying to be with him. Radius increase on Aftershock by 50, making it so your whole team will get hit by all of his abilities. I mean, Aftershock's just a smaller part of it. It's just to make it line up a little bit more with some of his other stuff, but like still. It means he's stun you better, because if he's anywhere near you when you cast, he'll still hit you with the damage and the stun. Don't care about that, but good. Echo Stomp has a lower radius. Flame Grudge radius increased. That's weird. Fire Remnant takes 0.1 more seconds to cast. Yeah. Nerf to Enchantress's damage. Enchant. Aghanim Scepter now does what Shard used to do. Attack slow on Untouchable was decreased early. That's nice. Little Friends is now this. Is given by Scepter. So Scepter does both the increase on creeps as well as Little Friends. Okay. Sproink is given by Shard. They nerfed it. Okay, that's fine. Enigma can no longer cast on units, which means you can't deny units. Now, a no-target ability that summons 3 Eidolons around Enigma. Now has a health cost, in addition to its mana cost, meaning Enigma has to spend health to do this. That's amazing. Fuck Enigma. I'm so happy. I am so happy that Enigma got a nerf. I love this. I love this change. He can no longer prevent me from getting creeps that are going to give me experience. He has to spend health, which means I can actually kill him potentially when he does cast this too much. That's great. I don't care about talents. Phantom's Embrace now refreshes when the Phantom reaches Grimstroke rather than the moment Rend damage is dealt. So it takes longer for it to refresh. Hey, thanks for the sub. Love it. I am almost done in Furry. I know I'm a G, but I'm almost done. Inkswell lasts longer, much longer. Can now be detonated via Ink Explosion sub-ability at any time during its effect. Max stun duration increased at earlier levels. That's interesting, actually. I like that idea. Soulbind fully pierces BKB as well. Slow resistance, it's fine. Raise and Flat Cannon means he can actually really be like Medusa. Scurry gives attack and cast range when activated. That's weird. Interesting on Sharpshooter hitting creeps. That's kind of helpful. Oh my god, Life Breakdown slows attack speed? Fuck Scar. Invoker's a universal hero. I think that's an interesting change. Because he does do things that kind of fit agility heroes, int heroes, and strength heroes as far as like what they usually do. I guess this isn't really strength, that's just damage, but whatever. I'm glad to see that like he's gonna. Well, actually, they do give stats, so they actually are supposed to. Actually, strength, by the way, agility. Right, that's agility is attack speed, so it's strength, agility, int. Base health regen was increased by a lot. Base damage decreased by a lot. Agility gain decreased slightly. Base int increased. Agility gain decreased though. Damage on level 1 decreased from 44 to 50 to 38, 46, which is pretty fair. Damage gain per level increased though pretty dramatically, so it'll get out of that almost immediately. A couple levels. Less strength, less of all these stats. No health regen, no attack speed, no damage. Now grants lifesteal on Evoker's abilities per orb on cast. The value is stored at the moment of the spell cast and cannot be changed by swapping orbs after. Okay. Now grants cooldown reduction. Interesting. Now grants spell amp. Cold Snap now heals Invoker. Freeze cooldown was decreased, which is how often you can be frozen. Thanks, Rocket. This is like the biggest change. Ghost Walk gives health regen now, which it didn't used to, and mana regen. Bigger lift. Damage on Sunstrike was increased slightly. Hold on, Furry. You're right, but not as right as you would hope. It is good. I agree with you there. But remember, now Invoker's damage, his flat damage, is 6 lower on the minimum, 4 lower on the maximum. That sounds great too, because he got a damage reduction as well as no exort. But because he's universal, number one, it's easier for him to get damage back, because all universal heroes that are carries, which he's technically a carry, it's easier to get your damage back later. It does hurt the laning though, but later it'll be a problem. And he increased his damage per level, because it shows you that, by 1.14. Right, that's fair. That's why I said right, but still a problem. He's getting a 1.14 damage back every single level he gains. So that means that damage that he lost, he gets back by level 4-ish, roughly. So at level 4, he does the same damage that he used to, not counting the exort. Then every level after that is just cash. So he's going to get that damage back. Now, it does hurt his early game for sure. I do agree with you. The problem, I guess, is that now Invoker can spam you. Because now he has an ability with Ghost Walk to get mana regen and health regen more than he used to over there, because he could never do mana regen. And Spell Amp, so now if he gets the chance to like hit you with certain spells, it looks like it might be annoying. But he's a much harder hero to play. I'm probably not going to play him anymore. Just because like I'm going to have to see. I don't know. Item Shard no longer grants bonus Spell Amp, but it does give slow resistance, whatever. I don't care about all this. Oh, this is interesting. Now adds 2 walls of ice along the edge of the Macropyre that slows any enemies trying to cross them. That's really nice, actually. So now people... So with Ags, they can't leave it as easily. That's really nice. Jug. None of that's important. Mana restore on Coddle was decreased at all levels. Good. But they're more effective when you cast them on himself. Damage and slow are now applied to all enemies in the torrent area throughout the duration, which means even if you get missed by the stun but walk back in underneath the water, you're still slowed. It's nice, I guess. Quality of life. X brings people back faster. Nerf to Legion's strength. Nerf to Legion's speed. Ouch. Whatever. Oh, wait, that's a big one. Instead of extra Chain Frost damage, Chain Frost on death is a very interesting one. Very interesting. Why? It's 25, but he used to get 1.2% Feast Lifesteal. Now it gives 1.2% Feast Lifesteal. And damage. For what? Damage decreased on Dragon Slave at all levels. Now also burns enemies, dealing damage per second. So that's why it's turning into a damage per second thing. All of that is good. Everything against illusions this patch is amazing. Lunica Blade supercharges Lina, granting her 10 stacks of Fiery Souls for 5 seconds. So now it's easier to get those Fiery Souls stacks. That's a really good buff. This is actually a buff to Lina. All of this. This is really nice for her. Mana Drain doesn't have a mana cost. You can target allies to feed them mana at all times. And movement speed to them. Cool. Bear is now a universal creep hero unit. It has a 0 base attributes and does not gain them with level, but attributes received from buffs or items fully affect the bear as they would for universal heroes. The bear cannot gain experience, but their health and damage increase with lone druids level by 90 and 5, respectively. Bear now has its own Aghanim Scepter and Shard upgrades. Aghanim Scepter allows Spirit Bearer to attack at any range from Lone Druid and to survive if Lone Druid dies. Aghanim Shard grants an active ability Fetch. Spirit Bearer roots the target unit or rune, and uncontrollably drags them towards Lone Druid. Spirit Bearer is slowed during this time. The target gradually dealt damage over the duration of its enemy. The bear is not slowed down while fetching a rune. Okay. This is just definitely a buff to Spirit Bearer. Lone Druid severs the link to a Spirit Bearer and connects to the targeted ally hero, sharing the Spirit Link bonuses with them. Armor sharing and attack speed bonuses are increased by 35%. Damage done by the ally heals Lone Druid, as well as the other way around. The Spirit Bearer is feared for the duration of the transformation unless he has his own Aghanim Scepter. So... Oh, True Form no longer increases base attack bonus, so that's good. Base attack time, I mean. Well, actually, no, that was a nerf. Base attack time, we'd want less. So, actually, that's a buff. The biggest change I'm seeing here, number one, is that Spirit Link means that Lone Druid can save allies if he's a carry. He can just be like, oh, you're dying, Sven. Let me Spirit Link you, and even though you're CC'd and dying, I'm just going to do 8 billion damage and heal you, right? This just looks like buffs, and I hate it. I hate everything about it. Aghanim Shard upgrade is no longer does this. Now it increases Moonglaze. Creates 4 Moonglaves that rotate around Luna, reducing any damage she takes. If the glaives collab with an enemy, it deals 75% of her attack damage once per revolution. I mean, that's probably better. I didn't really like the one where if she casts Lucent Beam, so I like this better. Whatever. Horn Toss now stuns enemies for the duration of the air time. So they can't do anything in the air. Definitely a buff. Aghanim Shard on Rebound also decreases Rebound cooldown by 3. That's a really big buff. Sidekick. Buff is now permanent for Marcy and her ally, dispellable only upon death or buffing another ally. Marcy's lifesteal now also heals her ally, and the ally's lifesteal heals Marcy, so it's like Lone Druid. If they're further apart than 2,500 units, Marcy receives 50% of the bonus while her ally receives no bonus. Bonus damage decreased, I'm sorry. Much less damage. Lifesteal decreased. Cooldown rescaled, just so she can, I don't know. I mean, that's probably still a buff, though. Sidekick was too low, so, like, it wasn't used a lot because it doesn't need to be used a lot in certain contexts. So now that Marcy gets, like, passive benefits from it, it's interesting anyway. Now she can benefit somebody else and heal someone, and she can get healed by them. So it's a nice team ability. Interesting. Alright. Okay, a nice little buff to her talent. Probably needed. Meepo lost strength gain, agility gain, and base int. And it's probably not going to change anything, but whatever. Maximum bonus damage on arrow is has to scale up now. Base charge restore time on leap is worse early, better late. Okay, Aghanim Shard is just nice for Balanced Strike. Whatever. Aghanim Scepter on Morphling adds an alternative cast to Morph. When enabled, Morphling creates beside himself a strong illusion of a target hero that can cast all of their basic abilities and deals normal damage. It takes more. The illusion is alive when Morphling toggles Morph. He teleports to the illusion and destroys it before turning into the enemy hero. That allows so much jankiness where he can be running away then suddenly go back to his illusion. That looks gross. I'd have to see it. If an enemy hero dies inside the calling, it gains an additional Revenant, and its duration's refreshed. That's really strong. Secondary target of bonus search range increased, making it so Gunslinger procs more. Parting Shot, which is her thing, her Ags. Physical body damage reduction decreased, so you can actually do more damage during it. Yeah, kinda. Base armor decreased by 1, whatever. Sprout now deals damage when you're inside it. Even if the enemies are just close to the trees. That's stupid. Fuck Nature's Prophet. Aghanim Scepter doesn't buff Shroud. Now it buffs Heartstopper. Health decay is increased by 60% of Necrophos' current health regeneration. Ooh, that's gross. That's going to make his aura so strong. Because if Necrophos has a lot of ults, his health regen might be like a static, let's just say 30. So about 60% of 30 is 15-ish. Let's just say it's 15, whatever. That means you're taking 15 extra... Is it damage? Not percentage, I'm sure. So 15 damage just by being near. I guess that's not crazy. If it's just damage, not percent. Crippling Fear does damage. That's a really good buff to Night Stalker. Dark Ascension, which is his ult, now refreshes cooldowns of non-ultimate abilities on cast. So when he ults, then he can cast his abilities again. Cool. Damage reflected increased on Spike Carapace, so it does more damage to the enemies. In exchange, its cooldown also got better, basically. Bonus damage decreased on Vendetta at later levels, so it's not quite the nuke. The duration was increased to its maximum always, though. No other nerfs? That's unfortunate. Damage decreased on Unrefined Fire Blast, but it deals damage equal to 1.5 times Ogre Magi's strength. Ouch. Well, I'm trying to get here. I'm trying to get this done. We're over an hour, so. Cast range on Purification's higher. That's a really big buff. Heavenly Grace renamed Repel back to what it was before. Doesn't gain strength, health regen, any of that. It now gains strength, health regen per debuff currently on the unit. Now only applies to the target, not to Omninet as well. No longer applies a strong dispel. Now you can join the Discord, by the way, Rocket. You're welcome to chime in. Now grants debuff immunity for the duration of the effect, which is what it used to do. Duration decreased from 10 to 6. I mean, they just basically turned it into Repel with slight changes, so much longer cooldown, too. So good. Purifying Flames does more heal per second, so the total heal went up. It's nice. They buffed his Aghanim Shard Astral. Aghanim Scepter now fully prevents the damage that would put OD health below 20%. Aghanim Scepter max mana as barrier increased. Now applies a mana allergy, so it says. Yeah, every time they cast a spell equal to the mana cost of that spell. And he's healed. So basically it's like a Pugna ward, sort of, but it heals him. The Shield Crest no longer provides damage reduction per hero to Pango. Now grants a barrier per hero. That's probably fairer. I think that's much fairer. No longer disarms, but now adds attack speed reduction to its targets. I mean, that's a really big nerf. I don't think that's worth it. The barrier was fine. I don't mind terribly. I was like, okay. But no longer disarming is like really painful because the attack speed reduction is not as good. Unless it lasts longer, which it doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. Ability rework on ult for PA. Refines your combat abilities requiring a 20% chance of gaining... Wait, Earth Spike affects... What? I'm talking about the lion? Did I miss something? Oh, I didn't see that. 30 degree. Wow. It's a 20 talent, but yeah, that's very interesting. That's really nice. I missed that one in the things I skipped. Cool. Acquiring a 20% chance of gaining Deadly Focus buff with each attack. While Famous Assassin is focused, her next attack will deal a guaranteed critical hit with her normal crit and consume the buff. Stifling Dagger has a 40% chance to gain Deadly Focus. The hit that lands a guaranteed crit may also activate a Deadly Focus buff, making consecutive crits possible. Deadly Focus duration, 6 seconds. So she has to activate this. There's a passive. So basically, she can never crit you on the first hit. That's what I'm seeing here, effectively, right? What happens is she attacks you, maybe 20% chance that now she could crit you, right? First hit, can't crit you. Hits you, maybe she procs it, maybe she doesn't. You could see that, though. You could see the buff on her. Buff is now active, right? Happens to roll, lucky for her. Now, at any time, for 6 seconds, she could crit you just like she could before with a 20% instead of a 15% crit rate. So a little higher of a crit rate. But once that 6 seconds is over, now she needs to prep that crit again by hitting you and then prepping the crit again. So she's going to have less crits overall during some parts of the fight and more during others. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care. Sun Ray now applies a stackable 2% miss chance debuff for every tick of damage. So it makes people miss. That's really strong. That's really good. Bonus damage per hit decreased, so Pulverize doesn't do as much damage anymore, slightly. Now provides an uproar stack for each enemy hit with Rock Throw. I mean, that's nice. Aghanim Shard, bonus damage increased. Aghanim Shard lets him hit everybody, I believe, and does extra damage. That's true, but now she can throw a dagger, see that her next attack could crit, and then jump on you with Phantom Strike. So she can still test the waters with a dagger, wait till she gets her buff, and then go on you. But you are right that depending on the situation, if the dagger crit, you were already going to die anyway. So at least now you have a chance. If you're watching her debuffs and her debuff activates, you know she's about to go, i.e. you have a chance to try to get out. Which is still better, right? Mirrors Puck's attack rate, that's really good. Aghanim Scepter, Rapid Fire. That's good. So the Aghanim Scepter is going to be much stronger with Puck with a high attack speed. Meat Hook kills illusions instantly. Can stun, cast stun on Pudge. Is removed if the hook finds a target. So before, when he hooks, he can't do anything until they come back. Now, if I remember correctly. So cast stun on Pudge. It means the moment you cast it. So when you cast Hook, okay, let me go backwards. When you cast Hook, for a second, you're locked into the Hook animation, but technically you can then move, right? Once it reaches its end, I believe, you can do whatever you want. Like, you can blank, you can move, whatever you want to do. So now, basically, I think it's just changing when it decides if that's true, and I think it's technically a buff. It's giving him less of the long hook searching. In other words, base damage was increased, whatever. Scream of Pain's radius was increased by 50, making it easier for her to hit you with her E. Sonic Wave's damage was increased dramatically, 100 at this level. But it gets applied gradually. Knockback is undispellable. Cooldown decreased. Big buffs to Quap, actually. Oh, Razor, here we go. Aghanim's Shard increases Static Link. Increases cast range. Adds an alternative cast to Static Link. When toggled on, it pulls Razor and his link target towards each other at a rate of 100 units per second. The pull stops if the distance is less than such and such. Storm Surge, bonus speed was decreased, making him slower. His previous Aghanim Shard upgrade is part of the base, which is the chance of, when attacked, and always when targeted with a spell, to release Forked Lightning. So Forked Lightning is just part of his ability now. So that's gross. He's just better then. Ricky, base armor decreased. Base damage oh my god. Correct. 2 less armor is dramatic by itself. Base damage decreased by 14. Strength gain decreased by 0.6, making him squishier. Agility was increased by 12. I will grant. That's a big one. That's still less damage. He still overall lost 4 damage. In exchange, he did gain attack speed, 12 attack speed. But on the flip side, he's much squishier, right? So he got 12 attack speed, lost a little damage, lost a bunch of armor, lost health. He did gain an agility increase of 1. So, like, he's going to do less damage at the beginning, but with a higher attack speed, and that's whatever, right? He's much squishier, so he should be pushed out of lane pretty easily. Late game Ricky, on the other hand, will be much stronger, except, look at this, they nerfed the agility damage. Not by a ton, but the rate is lower, right? 1.8 instead of 2. So, yeah, so I think he's still going to do more damage at the late game, because the agility on the gain and the base will probably balance out mostly here. But it means it's not dramatic, right? It's like, okay, he attacks faster most of the game, but he's just squishier. So, like, although his base agility should actually make up for most of this armor, now I think about it. Yeah, actually, never mind. This agility means his armor is the same. I forgot. So, this is overall looks like a buff, mostly. Mostly. Nerf to the Aghanim Shard on the throw by 35%. Ooh, gross. He doesn't get as much cast range off Arcane Supremacy. It went down by a little bit. We'll take that. Sandstorm now constantly moves towards Sand King at a speed, so it's actually easier to find Sand King and Sandstorm now. Aghanim Scepter Burst Strike Spine Radius now equals 10% of Sandstorm's current radius. Okay. I mean, it moving with him, it helps him get away, but it's honestly probably a nerf, because now you can tell where he is. Aghanim Shard effect now triggers based on seconds instead of units moved. That's a buff. Yes, he does. You could just move. It would just slowly move after you. Base attack range of Shadowfee went up by 25, making him a better core. Better return on the Aghanim Scepter coming back wave. That's good too. Hex now amplifies the damage the target takes by a substantial amount. That's stupid. Duration also increased, but the cooldown was increased at most levels. Silencer, I want nerfs. Aghanim Shard now silences all targets hit if glaive bounce. Whatever. Oh, by the way, they kicked back his glaives of wisdom damage over here. They did make the bounces go earlier, so he won't bounce as much, but he'll do more damage to the single person, so, like, whatever. Aghanim Scepter now creates 2 additional bolts instead of 1, making it better. That's cool. Slitherine Crush comes out faster. Puddle duration lasts longer, especially with Ags. Bash now passively grants attack damage when in water, so just do more damage. Depth Shroud's linger duration was decreased, so once it's over, just cut. Fixed damage per shot on Little Shredder was increased. Mana cost increased, whatever. Assassinate now also performs an auto attack on the target, making it much better. The damage was decreased commensurately, which is fine. It's now refreshed whenever Sniper kills an enemy. This includes all kills by Sniper and not just ones from Assassinate. Okay. This makes Assassinate much better, right? Because now you hit someone too, so if you're doing 300 damage, it adds 300 damage, you know what I mean? And they can also crit. Hit, Maelstrom proc, whatever. And since it refreshes on any kill from Sniper at all, whether it's a right click or the ult, he can now ult all the time. That makes those talents that lower the cast time and stuff a little bit more tempting, because you can just be like, pew, 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 if people are dying, right? Base strength decreased in Spectre. Shadow Step, now an ultimate ability. Oh no, they ruined Spectre. Reality has 3-second cooldown, so you can't jump around. And Haunt is now at Nags. Oh man, that's ruined. Unplayable. Honestly, I'm not gonna play Spectre anymore at all. That's unplayable. The fact that you no longer have Haunt and you have Reality instead, like they're swapped, and they nerfed the ability to jump back and forth. It means hero kills. Charge bonus speed was decreased. Spirit Breaker is slower earlier, but the same later. Raider Bash chance was replaced with damage. Later, the damage was replaced with chance. That's fine. Damage on Ball Lightning was decreased. Radius increased on Stormhammer, so bigger stuns. Slow resistance is increased in that, whatever. You can make Reactive Taser go off whenever you want. Don't care. If you have Demon Zeal activated, it's canceled if you use Metamorphosis. More attack and movement speed. Took a lot of stuff away. It gives it to his illusions. Duration was increased dramatically from 7 to 30. And you can't do it under Metamorphosis. Okay. So it's like separate. It's either Meta or Demon Zeal. You can't have both. No Tendrils! They took out Tendrils! No! New ability instead. Tidehunter throws a chain that leashes an enemy hero to a heavy anchor. Attempting to move more than 350 units away from the anchor reduces their movement speed to 100. While dragging the anchor behind them, the anchor can be destroyed with 5 hero attacks. Initial chain deals damage and has travel speed, can be disjointed. It removes invisibility and provides fog of war vision on the target. I mean, I guess that's nice. I really like Tendril's ability to stun everybody, but that anchor looks good too, so, you know. What? So you can get damage block on Anchor Smash per hero killed, and it's retroactive like Flesh Heap. That's interesting. I'd like to see how that works. Timbersaw's base damage was decreased by 3, making him spell dependent. Strength Rain decreased on Tinker, making him squishier. More damage on Missile. Harder mana stuff on Rearm, whatever. Slow resistance, whatever. Ooh, Nature's Guides can block on Nature's Grasp. That's stupid. And Tree Search Radius was increased too, so it's easier for him just to go invis. What a whore. Well, Tree Walking, he gets invis later, but whatever. Rampage ability was removed. Rampage was his Shard? Both Whirling Axe abilities are now accessible at the same time. Casting any of them automatically switches Troll World to the form, so you don't have to switch yourself. I guess that's quality of life. Whirling Axe is ranged, damage rescaled, so it's more later. Fervor. Increases Max Fervor stacks by 4 and grants Troll 20% plus 3% chance per Fervor stack to fire an additional ranged attack to any unit within the range attack range plus 175. The 4 stacks is good by itself, by the way, because that means Troll literally breaks the cap so unbelievably fast. I have to test this. I'm sorry. I know we're trying to get this rolling, but I mean, I gotta see my boy. Let's get a dummy. At least this one will be fast. Level max. Let's just get some basic items. He goes Phase, Abyssal, BKB. So we got Sanjin Yasha. We'll get Butterfly. Why not? MKB. This is how fast Troll attacks now. And now. Number 1, notice how Lion's getting hit right now. It does work when he's melee, by the way. Melee's faster. Look how fast he's attacking. And I haven't ulted. Attack speed of 850 right now. unbelievable. Can it go higher? Oops. No. He cannot get faster. 850 is his cap there.
Stand up to this monster. Kill.
Come back and die.
Okay. Tag team. Now passively grants Tusk attack speed slow aura within 350 radius, which means when you activate it, people are attack speed slowed around you. That's a good buff. About to be done, by the way, friends, so if you're going to get in, now will be the time. I'm at you. Cooldown increased slightly on Firestorm. Aghanim Shard now allows targeting allies. The Firestorm can follow them. Whatever. Base damage decreased by 4 on Undying. Good. He's already a bully. Decay's cooldown was increased at earlier levels. Good. Ursa. Agility gain increased by 0.2. Nice. Now also grants slow resistance on Overpower. That's also good. Alright, talents. His enraged dash resistance increased from 10 to 20. I like that. Fury Swipe damage decreased 12 to 10. That's fair. Earthstrike has 2 charges. That's really good. So instead of giving your allies half of your enraged bonus, which I didn't care much for, now instead you can have Earthstrike has 2 charges, so you can jump, which is really big, considering that it gives you 2 stacks Fury Swipes whenever he jumps on you with the Shard, I believe. No, it's a different ability. I forget where it is, but he can do that. He can just jump on you twice. Attack speed buff on Venge. Wave of Terror reduces the enemy's total attack damage dramatically. Ouch. Viper, duration increased. Hey, Rocket, by the way, you're muted. I'm sure that's fine for you. Duration increased by 1 second for Viper Strike. Decreased the initial attack slow, so it doesn't do as much. No, increased, sorry. Damage per second was decreased, though. Projectile speed was increased. That's really nice. Good Viper buffs. Void Spirit. Aghanim Shard now makes non-hero units take 30% of abilities damage every second they spend on the Remnant's path instead of 1 instance of full damage. So if creeps are like fighting on top of your Aether Remnant, it can damage them a bunch while it's sitting there. You can't sit and dissimulate as long. They buff the Resonant Pulse stuff. Gross. Fatal Bonds. I'll invite everybody back, by the way. And Furry should still have an invite, but I'll cancel and re-invite. Oops. Warlock. Units that die while affected by Fatal Bonds now spawn Imp that lasts 15 seconds. Imp stats improve with each level of Fatal Bonds. Yeah, it's fine. If you cannot be controlled and chased after nearby units favoring heroes affected with Fatal Bonds, Imps explode, dealing damage when they reach target or die. Cool. Upheaval with Aghanim Shard now summons Imps from the current level of Fatal Bonds, sharing the same stats. Golem now has slow resistance. Cool. Aghanim Shard now procs Geminate attack after exiting Shikuchi. And also procs additional attack if Weaver has his extra talent. Max HP per second in Cold Embrace was increased. Gross. Winter's Curse. Winter Wyvern can no longer deal physical damage to units in a Winter's Curse, nerfing Winter Wyvern carry builds. Affected units now take 30% more magical damage and pure damage for Winter Wyvern, but that means you can't go right-click builds. Strength gain decreased on Witch Doctor, making him squishier. Bounce delay decreased, meaning it bounces faster on Paralyzing Cask. Death Ward now deals pure damage and pierces debuff immunity. The damage was decreased to balance that out. Voodoo Switcheroo attack speed reduction was increased. Wraith King now deals 25%. Skeletons now deal more damage to heroes. Their armor was increased, making them harder to kill. That's cool. Zeus. The ult damage was decreased by 50, 75, 100. But it now deals damage equal to a percentage of target's max HP, which probably is going to be much better. Lightning Hand's ability changed from autocast to toggle. If you didn't want it to happen, I don't know. It being strength on ult makes Zeus a more formidable foe now. Alright, I'm going to end this broadcast and start a new one because I want the patch to be its own thing. So I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. For those of you on Twitch, don't worry, I am about to be right back.